The aim of this video is to show how our visualizations are able to interact with the user. But before we do that, let's recap our project. So essentially we try to understand the evolution and drivers of political freedom in the 21st century. And more specifically, we ask ourselves a few questions. And one of these questions is, how has freedom evolved globally in the current century? Are there any regional or temporal trends to be observed? And to answer these questions, we are going to use a few datasets. And these few datasets are retrieved from a host of multilateral institutions and think tanks. And these think tanks are, for example, the Freedom House on Political Freedom and the World Bank Macroeconomics and Productivity Data. So now let's dive into the visuals. And it's the first that we display is the European continent. It is colored by the political rights ratings, which ranges from 1 to 7. 1 representing the most free and 7 the least free. And essentially countries with a lighter yellowish color have lower level of freedoms, and the more darker they are, the more free they are. So for example, Turkey has only a political rights ratings of 5, and while in Belgium we have a political rights rating of 1, which is the highest. Okay, now we will try to visualize this in a tree map. And for that So the tree map essentially shows the same data, but it gives a better idea of the proportion of the countries belonging to a certain rating. In that way, we can see that many European countries belong to the rating of 1. And we can check out which countries those are. So if we click on this, it can take some time to load, so we'll have to be a bit patient. And this works better in Mozilla Firefox. So if you try it for yourself, do it in Mozilla. Okay, so now we have the countries. We see that Switzerland, Sweden, Spain are all part of this cluster. And okay, now we can move on to the next visualizations, the GDP. Here we have some trend lines, and when we click on it or when we drag our mouse on it, we can see the associated country. So here we have Switzerland. If we want to select our own chosen country, we can go here and see Belgium, Switzerland again, and we see here we have a dip in 2009, which is the economic crisis. So not too surprising, but then we can look at countries that were not so affected by this economic crisis. And here we can even see some anomalies. Ireland in 2015 has a huge increase in GDP. So yeah, let's go on to the next visualization, women in power. And here we look at the percentage of women in parliament across time. We can select again these trend lines and see the associated country. Here we have Switzerland, here we have a country, Slovenia, which has more ups and downs. And the bar chart on the left allows to see the percentage of women in parliament in 2020 and their political rights rating. So we see that Sweden has 47% of women in parliament in 2020, and it has a political rights rating of 1. And we see a trend here. Mostly the top countries having a large percentage of women in parliament have also a low value on this political rights rating. So more freedom. Okay, let's go to the next visualization, the Gini coefficient, which is a well-known measure for inequality. And again, it's a bit similar to the previous one. You can click on these bars and see Turkey. You can see their Gini value, 41.9, and their political rights rating equal to 5. Okay, and we can see for Belgium, maybe here Belgium, Gini 27.7 and political rights of 1. Okay, now let's move on to the last chart. So here we have an interactive spider chart that shows the economic freedom index expressed in a few components. And we have the drop-down menu where we can select up to 3 deciles at the same time as they superimpose each other. So here if we look at the lowest decile and then we can select the highest one, we see a clear difference in these values. And you can go and click on the value and size of the government. Here you don't see a big difference, and we can even select the third group. So okay, you've seen all the interactivity of our visualizations, and we have arrived at the end of the video. I hope this video clarified the interactivity aspect of the visualizations that were discussed in the report, and thank you for your time, and bye bye.